Welcome back, it's Seth here. So there's something that I want to discuss with you guys. There are a lot of people out here that are acting like they're rich, but in reality, they're just flat broke. Most of the videos that I make provide tips on how you can get wealthy. However, I think it's equally as important to know who's faking being rich, because being influenced by these fake rich people could derail your financial growth. So in this video, I'll be talking about 5 signs that you can spot to see if someone's faking being rich. However, before I do dive deeper into this video, if you can, please hit the like button down below, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to help grow our channel. Now that you hit the like button, let's dive in. So diving into the first sign that someone's faking to be rich, and that is that they buy entry-level luxury products. So this is actually one of my favorite ones because I see this a lot. So many people get that entry-level luxury product and flex all the money that they don't have. One great example of this is those t-shirts with the blaring large logo all over them. And usually these are the entry-level t-shirts into these designer brands, and usually they're more the cheaper t-shirts you can get. And that blaring big logo, that speaks volume. That's people trying to show off all the money that they have, as some people associate flashy designers with higher status. So the idea that designer brands like Gucci, Versace, and Louis Vuitton are great, superior quality compared to other clothings is not really true. What you really find is that these brands have average quality, but they just have a really large markup, anywhere from 800 to 1200%. Another area that I really see is when people buy entry-level luxury cars. This could be entry-level BMW, Mercedes, or Audi. Personally, I'm a car guy. I love buying a car for its history, driving experience, and its styling. I also don't think there's really a harm to buy a luxury vehicle if you have extra money. However, if you're buying an entry-level luxury car just so you can flex on other people, I think you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Especially on top of that, if you're financing the car, when for the same price, you could get a fully loaded Japanese or American car. The issue starts when people start comparing. When people compare that for the same price, they could get an entry-level luxury car, why would they buy a Honda or a Ford? Well, the thing is, most wealthy individuals only spend anywhere from 2 to 5% of their income on vehicles, when the people that are trying to be rich end up spending anywhere from 20 to 30% of their yearly income on a vehicle. One thing that people forget, that you're not just paying a large amount to purchase a luxury vehicle, you're also going to pay a lot more in maintenance fees, a lot more insurance, and oh yeah, don't forget that premium gas. Now moving on to the second sign that someone's faking to be rich, and that is that they always talk about money. You definitely know someone that is always talking about money, especially how much money they're making. Every time you hang out with them, they have to let you know how much money they're making, or even multiple times during that one hangout. And they're just looking for one opening in a conversation to just start talking about their income. I personally find that this really comes up when I'm talking about clothing and accessories. I may say that I bought clothing from Winners, and usually brand name, at a discounted price. And this individual will start talking about how they only purchase clothing from a designer and they don't care about sales anymore because they just make too much money. And to be honest, people like this are just annoying. Another thing that I find is that a lot of people overstate their income, especially the individuals that run their own business. They may tend to say that they're making anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 a year, but usually they're only talking about their revenue, not their net income. Their net income is usually anywhere from 15 to 20% of their revenue. Mind you, that's not a bad net income. However, it's not nearly as close as their revenue that they keep talking about. The truth is, the real wealthy don't really talk about their money because they simply don't have to. They have truly made it in life and they don't feel like they constantly have to talk about it. The true wealthy usually aren't insecure about the amount of money that they're making. And what I find is that they usually tend to listen more than talk about themselves. The real wealthy have a pretty good eye on picking out who's actually wealthy and who's just bluffing. Now moving on to the third sign that someone's faking to be rich, and that is that they're constantly showing off on social media. I know that you and I both know individuals that are always posting on social media, and they're always posting most extravagant things. And usually they do this to gain validation. But here's the thing, I personally don't think that social media is really real. People tend to overshare their life to make it look a lot better than it actually is. Let's be honest, if you were actually posting what we do on a daily basis, such as cleaning your dishes, vacuuming, no one would bat an eye twice to our posts, and we would not get the validation that most people want. The thing is, the extreme posts sell a lot better than your normal everyday mundane things. For example, Mr. Beast trying a $70,000 pizza will get hundreds of millions of views, whereas someone who posts a video on how you can save and invest and get to $100,000 will not get the same amount of views, not even close. That's because most people don't think that's catchy or glamorous, and most people find that long-term investing is plain boring. Another reason why I think social media is more fake than real is that people have created fake social media accounts. The term bots has been used quite a bit in the past few years. People will buy fake followers and fake likes and create a whole social media page and make them seem like they're an actual influencer. Just in 2021, it was reported that 49% of Instagram influencers used fake followers at some point in their influencer career. Now imagine, that's just one social media platform. You do this on multiple and you've created a fake lifestyle. One of the ways that you could determine if a social media page was fake was that you would go on a social media page and you see a bunch of followers and a bunch of likes on post. However, when you go to the comment section, there'll only be a few comments. Now people are also buying fake comments, but this is still one way of figuring out if a social media page is more fake than real. Now, moving on to the fourth sign that someone's faking to be rich, and that is that everything they own is financed. This is a huge issue, and it's an ongoing growing issue year over year. Currently, what we find is the average Canadian is under $22,377 a debt. This grew from 2024 to 2025 by 5.43%. And to clarify, this debt amount does not include a mortgage. And for most Americans, the average debt per person is anywhere from $23,000 to up to $36,000. This does not include a mortgage and varies by state. This debt for the average person comes from credit card debt, car loans, student loans, and personal loans. And what we're finding is that the younger generation is taking on more debt to purchase luxury items that the prior generation never did, especially when it comes to vacations and events. One of the biggest highlights I've seen recently is that more young people finance their Coachella ticket than ever before just so that they could attend the event. Personally, I think this is a disaster, and if you can't afford to pay the ticket price in cash, you should not go. And according to Bankrate, what they find is that 47% of millennials and 42% of Gen Zers will be going into debt to go on vacations. Again, taking on debt to go on vacation is not a good idea. If you cannot afford it, that's okay. I'd rather save the money than to go into debt. Personally, I use something really aggressive called the 5 times rule, which basically means whatever item I'm looking to purchase, if I don't have 5 times the amount saved and invested, I'm simply not going to buy it. So for an example, in this case, let's say you want to go on vacation and it costs $2,500. That means if I don't have $12,500 saved and invested, I will simply not go. However, I have gotten some pushback on this rule, and I've been told multiple times that it's a little too aggressive. So if you want, you can at least use the 2 times rule. Essentially, if you don't have 2 times the amount saved and invested for whatever item you want to buy, you simply cannot afford it. So in this case, that $2,500 vacation that you want to go on, if you don't have $5,000 saved and invested, you cannot afford it and you should not go. But at the end of the day, I know you're going to do whatever you want to do, but I just wouldn't recommend it. Now, moving on to the 5th sign that someone's faking to be rich, and that is that they're leasing a luxury car. This truly is the pinnacle of individuals showing off all their money. They'll go out there, lease a brand new luxury vehicle, and try to flex on their neighbors and show them how much money they have. And getting a leased vehicle is quite easy, and I think it's actually one of the worst ways of acquiring a vehicle. I personally don't think that most people realize this. When dealerships lease you a vehicle, they're actually hedging the depreciation of that car to those lease payments that you're going to make. The way dealerships operate is that they estimate the residual value of the vehicle at the end of your lease term, which the dealerships have you pay the difference between the current value and the residual value in lease payments. On top of that, you're going to pay interest, taxes, and fees. So essentially, if you're buying a vehicle that's worth $75,000 and at the end of the lease term, it's going to be worth around $40,000, you essentially finance and will pay the difference of $35,000 to the dealership. On top of that, interest, taxes, and fees. And at the end of the lease term, you're going to return the car, so you don't even own the vehicle. And what happens is most people will end up repeating this cycle again. So you'll be paying more lease payments, more taxes, more interest, and more fees right to the dealership. If you really want a luxury car, my recommendation is that you buy a used luxury car, anywhere from 3 to 5 years old. This way, most of the depreciation has already happened and the first owner has taken the hit. And you taking on that car after 3 to 5 years, you won't lose a lot of money to depreciation. And now, if you're telling me that you don't have enough cash to buy a luxury car, but you really want to buy one, well, then go ahead and finance it. It's better than leasing. A lot better than leasing. I personally hate leasing, and I don't really think it's worth it for the average individual. The only time leasing could be beneficial is if you own a business and the car is going to be a business vehicle. This way you can write off the lease payments on your taxes and get some benefit out of it. If not, I don't think people realize how leasing a vehicle really pushes them back from building wealth. Now, those were the 5 signs that you can spot if someone's trying to be fake rich. However, I have one extra bonus one for you as well. And what this last sign is that most individuals that fake being rich end up having most of their net worth tied to depreciating assets. A lot of people think that owning expensive things means that you're wealthy, but there's a problem. Most of the things that people flex, well, they don't realize that they actually lose value on these things every single day. Cars depreciate, designer clothing depreciate, and the newest gadgets and electronics, they all depreciate. That brand new SUV that you want, the moment you drive that right off the dealership lot, it's going to start losing value like no tomorrow. The newest iPhone, well, it's going to be worth a fraction in 2 years. And designer clothing, well, people really just buy them as a status symbol. And in the end, they're not going to be worth much at all. And designer items, well, most people buy designer clothing and accessories for status, not for actually building wealth. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like nice things, and I think everyone should enjoy nice things. However, the issue is if all your net worth is tied to depreciating assets, that's not going to help you build wealth. A lot of people today look rich because they own expensive things, but behind the scenes, they have little to no savings, no investments, no cash flow, and especially no appreciating assets. The real wealthy build wealth over time by buying appreciating assets, such as stocks, businesses, real estate, and honestly, ownership in any asset that's going to go up in value over time. All fake wealth is built on liabilities and depreciating purchases. And honestly, people spend years to look rich, when in reality, they should be spending that time to actually become rich. And that's a trap that most individuals fall into. And your job is to avoid these traps and focus on actually building wealth. So these are all the signs that can indicate that someone's actually fake rich and not really wealthy. And it's your job not to get influenced by them. If you guys really enjoyed this video, please stay tuned for future videos. And until next time, remember to keep investing.